previous video, we created two variables inside our data. We created a pending tasks, we created a finished tasks, and then inside the template part, we just printed those tasks. And this is how our application looks like right now. And this is our application that we have to implement. So in this video, I'm going to work a bit on the styling of our application. So the first thing I wanna do right now is I wanna move this application in the middle of the screen. In order to do that, there is this single root element here, this div here. So I will just add ID to this div and I will call it application. So I can reference to this div inside my styles. And as I previously said, every component has three different parts. The first part is template, the second part is application logic or component logic, and the third part here is the styling of your component. And if you want to add a CSS styles to your component, then you will write them just here. So inside my styles, I want to reference my application, so the container of my application or of my component, and the name of the container or ID of the container is application. So this is normal standard CSS. So I'll just write here application, and let's start adding some CSS rules. The first thing I want to do is I want to define the width of my application. So the width is 500 pixels, and I want to position my application in the middle. So margin is 0 pixels auto. So if I save this, if I go back to the page, as you can see here, my application is now centered. The second thing I want to do here is, as you can see here on the image, there is some small or some kind of a border here around my application. So I will add a border. Is 1 pixel solid, and then I will add a border color is, I don't know, gray. If I save this, if I go back to application, okay, now I have a border. If you can't write the CSS rules directly inside your IDE, you can actually do that also inside the web browser. So you just have to right click inspect, find the application div right here, and then we can start writing our CSS code here. So first thing, this border here is much brighter in our application requirement. So I will just change the color. So I'll just move this color picker a bit up. Okay, this looks much better. And as you can see here, there is some kind of a padding here, and this border is, there is some border radius here. Okay, so I'll just add here padding is, I don't know, 20 pixels. Okay, this looks much better. And I will add border radius 10 pixels. And this is exactly what we need. So I will just copy this part here and copy that, go back to the IDE, and I'll just paste it here. Okay, this looks really cool. I'll save that. And this is now how our application looks like. Another thing we have to change is the font of our application. So let's go to the Google Fonts. Okay, fonts.google.com. And let's try to find the suitable font. Okay, this McLaren is a good font. I think it's the same font. So this looks the same. Okay, so I'll just select this font. I will click here. And what I have to do, I have to link this font inside my application. So I will just copy this part here. I will go to my IDE. I will find the index.html file. It's this file, you can find it in a folder called public, and I'll just paste this link here. So this way I'm just importing the Google Fonts. And another thing I have to do is I just have to then define my fonts across my the whole component. And if I go component, inside the component, I can just define that I want to use this font, McLaren font, inside my application or inside this component. Okay, if I save this, if I go back to my application, okay, this looks much better right now. And I can close now the Google Fonts. Another thing that we have to do is we have to position this to-do application in the middle, and we also have to change the color of this title. So I'll just take this color here. Okay, that's this color. So we have to move this in the middle, and we have to change the color of this text. So I will inspect that element. What we have to do is say text align is center. Okay, and this looks much better. And we also have to change the color of the text is this. And this is exactly what we need. So I will just copy this, and I will go here, and inside my styles, I will say H1, use this styling. Okay, if I go back, if I refresh my page, then you can see to-do application is in the middle, and we changed the color. And that's good. Another thing we have to do here is we have to add these checkboxes here. As you can see, every task has a checkbox, and every finished task, there should be a line through every finished task, and we have to change the color as well. So in order to do that, let's go inside our application, and let's find the place where we are printing our tasks. So the name of the task, and that's this place, and this is for finished tasks, and this is the place for pending tasks. So I'll just hit enter here. I will add a simple input type checkbox. So I will just add here a simple checkbox. I will copy this, and I will do exactly the same thing for finished tasks. So as you can see here, every time we are printing this whole div, and before we are printing the name, before name, we are just adding a simple checkbox. So if I go back now to the page, as you can see here, here is the checkbox, and it's rendered before the name of the task. That looks pretty cool. And the last thing that we have to do regarding the tasks is we have to change, well, we have to change the color of the finished task, and we have to also add this line. So in order to do that, let's right click, inspect, and here is our first task. So we have to change the color. So I'll just add, let's say, gray. And to add this line, we can write element, no, it's text decoration. Yes, text decoration, it's called line through. And we have to add this somewhere in our styling. So as you can see here, every task is printed inside this tasks container, and we have two tasks container, and I'll just add here another class to this container, which is called finished. So this is task container as well, but this container also contains finished tasks. So I will use this class so I will just write finished. And if there is a div inside the finished class, and this is this div, then I will just add the styling. So I will change the color, and I will add this text decoration line through. So if I go back, if I refresh the page, you can see that every finished task, we changed the color of the finished task, and we also added this line. That means the task is finished. Okay. And let's check it out. The last thing that we have to add here is this simple input field with the button where we can add new task. So if we go, that we have to add that between to-do applications, so between our title and between pending tasks. So here is the place that where we can add this form. So I will add just a simple div with the class new task. And here I will close this div, and here inside I have to, first of all, let's check the application. What we have to do, we have to print a new task, then we have to add this input field, and then we have to add this button add task. Okay, so if I go back here, I'll just print text new task. After that, I will add input with the type text, and then I will just close this input, and then I will add a button with some text add task. Okay, and here we need a semicolon as well. So if we go back to our application, we can see that new task text is printed. Then we added a simple input field, and there is also a button called add task. So what we have to do right now is we have to style this a bit. So I will right click, inspect element, and here I want to add, so first thing I want to add is a padding. It's 10 pixels. Then I want to add a border. It's 2 pixels solid gray, but I will change this color a bit, to be honest. Okay, this looks much better. And I will also add a border radius. Border radius should be 10 pixels. And that's it. That's styling for our input field. So our input field is defined inside this new task class. So inside the div with the class new task. So I can write here dot new task. So this is the name of the class. Then if there is an input field, then I will just add this styling there. So if I go back, if I refresh, okay, that works. And the last thing that we have to do is we have to change this button here. So if we check here, the color of the text inside button is white. The button itself is green, but let's try to check which color is this. So that's this color. And we will also have to add this padding and some border radius here. Okay, so go back to the web, to the IDE. So again, our button is inside this div with this class new tasks. So I will just go down. I will again write new task. This is the name of my class. And so this way I'm referencing button. So button object or button element that's inside a div with the class new task, or that's inside the parent element which has a class new task. And here I want to add color. That's the color of the text is white. Then I want to add some padding. It's 10 pixels. And I want to add border radius. Radius is 10 pixels. And what I want to add here is the background color. So background color, I can find it here. And I have that color here because I copied from the web browser. And the last thing I want to add is, so if we check it, there is this border here that doesn't look so good. So I will just remove the border. So border is 0 pixels. So if I save that, if I go back to the web browser, here you can see my task is, my button is there, so it's styled, but I want to add some margin here. So I will just add a simple margin left is 10 pixels. And this looks now pretty cool. So if I compare it with something that we have to create, so this is our requirement. And this is something we got here. So we implemented. And looks pretty cool now. But what we are missing right now are the functionality. So if you click on this input field, nothing will happen. If you click on this input field, nothing will happen. And if I write some text here and if I click add task, then again, nothing will happen. And to be honest, the real power of the Vue framework is can be seen when you start actually adding the values inside the variables. So when you start changing the data inside the variables, then you will see how the elements on this website will start changing, and you will see how dynamic the Vue framework is. But to be honest, I can't wait to record the next video, so see you in the next video.